Street dogs have lived a great deal of time on the street, having been abandoned by their owners, or in some cases just simply lost their way and are unable to return to their homes, causing them to remain in the street. Many of them, having adjusted to a domestic life, move away from society and focus on survival, but more often than not become aggressive by the mistreatment of the community. The only source of food these animals have are leftovers they acquire in trash, outside restaurants, businesses, or homes. At times they are offered a meal by the local people, although it is rare for this act to be committed or seen, having been that many people pave their way out of the animal's presence. And let's add the fact that much of the food that they manage to get damages their functional digestive system, causing them fatal diseases, decomposition of their bones, or even fatality turnouts. When climatic changes happen, they do not have where to spend the night, causing illnesses. Other times being frightened by lightning and rockets, which causes them to run away from their homes aimlessly to routes where they can be run over, leaving them injured or even lifeless. Many of the dogs that are abandoned are part of humble families, although sometimes many of the families do not have the resources to feed them or give them the care that is required. Or, in other cases, people with a well lifestyle often leave them for a better race or because they simply no longer want them. In an investigation carried out by the Secretary of Health of the state and the municipality of Monterey, it has been revealed that there are about 5,000 stray dogs, despite the fact that most have had owners and are just let all on their own. On the other hand, there has been a way found to shorten the number of animals being left to survive on their own. This is called animal sterilization. This way prevents the increase in homeless offspring, which many of the times is gratuitous, but often ignored by their owners. Reason being that they do not have the time for their care, resources, or simply are no longer interested in the pet, and is the number one reason why the animals, once abandoned, leave more offspring often than not. Expert in sterilization Miguel Angel Rodriguez has commented that it is necessary to have a control over the population of dogs and cats. The advantages of having them operated is that we will not have more homeless animals on the street, and we will not have more cases of abuse on animals or accidents, apart the fact that the animal will have an opportunity to a much better quality of life. Many of the causes of the abandonment of pets are that most of the population is not fully informed of the care that must be given to the animals. On the other hand, the Director of Health of Monterey, Fernando Torres, commented that, "Far from being scared, I think it is to show the love that we have to our pet companions, because the day after tomorrow, they will have 4, 5, or even 6 more young, and this is where we start to complicate our life, when the family grows and we do not know how to accommodate them in our homes." This is why, as a population and as one, we have to be aware that if you obtain a pet and do not want them to have more offspring, then you should not breed them and instead sterilize them for the better. Adopt all pets that do not have a home and or family to take care for them. Research shows that if we sterilize a pair of cats, in about 7 years, they will stop having 400,000 animals. As in this case of dogs, in the same period of time, they will stop having 60,000 offspring. So do not think twice about it and sterilize your pets. Do not sell them. Adopt them. Pet abandonment is a global problem, causing millions and millions of adoptable dogs to die every year, for the simple fact that people continue to pay for puppy breeders or pet stores when they could save an innocent dog from death or simply being mistreated by the wrong people. The only real way to save them is by adopting them. People who keep buying puppies from pet stores are given authority to the cruelty of puppy farms. Dogs that are bred are brutally mistreated and inhumanely killed. Oftentimes, breeders who cannot sell their puppies are known for the mistreatment they give the animals, since they tend to use methods such as drowning, beating them to death, or simply abandoning them.
Normally, dogs that are rescued by veterinarians will last from 1 to 2 months in the establishments, and afterwards they are adopted by a family. It is rare that there are dogs that stay in the veterinary hands. There is always a family that wants to adopt. I would like to make an association for all those.
Many of the people who decide to buy puppies choose to get rid of them in the end, adding even more innocent dogs to large numbers already being sentenced to death. Other people do the same when they unexpectedly end up with a litter of puppies, as they do not take the precaution of castrating their dogs. Even if people bring their own dogs to a shelter with non-death policies, this still means that other dogs that could have been saved now will no longer have any place in it. If no one bought and everyone adopted, then the animals wouldn't go through certain situations. At the very moment that any animal is abandoned and they are sent to a shelter, they know that the chances of being adopted or staying alive are very, very little. Many of us know that the time of those helpless dogs is limited, having known that shelters can only care for animals for so long. Research done gave an estimated about 600 million abandoned pets each year. Many of the countries have controlled the overpopulation of animals. For instance, in the UK, it is estimated that the number of abandoned dogs is as high as 130,000 dogs a year. Most of the dogs are considered not so lucky because for every healthy dog in the UK, one of them is condemned to die 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Many times the great problem of abandoning dogs and cats is because they are not given the amount of attention that should be given to a pet, and the fundamental problem that they do not sterilize them. In each litter of pets, the pups that are given away soon are found abandoned for any situation possible that is presented to their caretaker. Another problem is that many people buy dogs from big races to take place in illegal fights and use them to obtain money, while many more are in the streets begging for food and living horrible experiences each and every day. There are not many people who support the animals that are abandoned, much less who sponsor food or somewhere to be able to rescue more animals that are suffering day by day. Society does not realize that newborn pets sold at pet stores are cruelly bred, since they come from farms in which they have been mistreated in order to raise them. They are prone to be victims of the brutality of the people, which sometimes results in fatal outcomes. Most people suffer from seeing the pets locked in those stores and believe that buying the dog will result in positive outcomes, but many of the times it is not. What is really happening here is that they are giving breeding farms the credit for the mistreatment of animals in many of the refugees or kennels that are going to give thousands of animals the supposed opportunity to be adopted, but finally unable to find a stable home. Euthanasia is one of the most common ways in that type of place, since it is said that it is death without pain for the pets that are suffering an incurable and painful disease. Pets that are killed in kennels are not aggressive. They simply inflict the damage for the fact that have not had the luck to find a stable home to adopt them, since there is not much that society is willing to do for the pets nor the sponsors. Many countries have different formats and ways to end the life of each of the animals that are not adoptable. Some of these methods consist of poisoning of the animal, not being properly maintained, burned alive, electrocuted. Some are also gassed, and finally giving lethal injection. In order to have a better population with a low percentage of abandoned animals, there must first be control. For instance, by law, that every certain number of animals must be sterilized and legally registered to an owner so they do not have any future problems with their pets.